topics. It's your boy Hot Rod here, back with another one, here with another episode. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining the show. I appreciate y'all so much. Welcome to another edition of Hot Rod's YouTube Live. Man, I just want to say, hope everybody's week is starting off pretty good. Off to a great start. It is Monday. I know if you like me, you don't favor Monday really a lot. I know I don't. I freaking hate Mondays. I don't say I dislike waking up to start a whole new week all over again. But I feel it's always important to start your mind off right? Reset. After you done reset on the weekend, you just come to a whole nother week. You got to have your fresh mind, fresh start, fresh opportunities. And that's how you challenge and take the week on. It's important for me to literally start my module the same way. Wake up, go to the gym, and do what I need to do. But I can honestly say this weekend was pretty hectic. I did not wake up to go do that. But that's the thing about tomorrow. Tomorrow always brings another opportunity, right? So I'll definitely be going up early to the gym and do what I got to do. Before we do start, though, please don't forget to share, like, and subscribe. Definitely tap the notification bell to get up-to-date content for whenever we are posting on this channel. So I'm gonna definitely dive into it, man. Today's topic, of course, as we close out the year, it always makes me wonder a lot of things, right? What are we feeling like as we reflect going into the new year? What is some things that we're going to carry over? What is things that work? What are some things that didn't work this past year that we feel as though we don't want to carry over, right? I know that for me, it's important to reflect on everything I did from start to finish this year. And by doing so, it kind of gives me an idea of when I take into the new year. And I know a lot of people don't like to believe in that stuff, new year, new me and stuff like that. But I feel as though for me personally, it's always good to at least have a fresh start, right? It's always good to reset. And I feel that when I am able to do that, I am able to reset. It gives me a fresh perspective. It gives me a fresh perspective to think of, okay, what worked this year, what worked well, what didn't work well, what it is that I need to change going into the new year. It doesn't mean I'm changing who I am, but I'm changing certain habits going through the new year so I don't let the same shit repeat over and over and over again. So for me, when I reflect on those things, this is what I like pretty much start off with is I think of January to up to December. What was positive about the year that I can take over, and what was the negative things that I need to work on or maybe need to permanently change. Because, year to year, we all grow. We're human beings. We're supposed to grow. We're supposed to mature, right? As we get older, we get more wiser. I mean, at least I know it's not always the case for everyone, but you should be striving to become a better version of yourself year in and year out. So for me, that's what it is. That's how I start pretty much, how I reflect on things, how I start off the year nonetheless. So when I think about today's topic, right? We think about what it changes. What does it mean a lot of times to reflect on this past year? I have to think about the future. When I think about the future, I'm looking ahead. I'm wondering, okay, what is it about myself? If there's one lesson this year that I thought of myself, what is it, right? But there's a lot of other questions I always think of when I'm thinking about that. So for me, when I asked the question for today's episode, I asked the question is, what is it that you did this year that really teach you about yourself, right? Before this year end, what is it that you learned about you? One thing I thought of myself this year that I'm able to be resilient. I knew that when I hit rock bottom, I knew how to bounce back. I didn't know there's some parts of me that exists as far as resilience. I mean, I've always been a resilient person, but I mean like really being courageous to overcome certain obstacles where people would probably give up, right? I've also learned that there are those who's in your corner and there's those who don't show up too as well. And that's not a bad thing necessarily. But I also learned that through self-reflection too as well that, I can overcome. I can achieve the things that I want to do, even when I'm in a bad state, right? Even when I may not be able to physically do things, I can alternate and make things happen for myself. That was one thing that I felt that when I was able to go get through the hump, that I found out that I was new with myself. But I also learned too as well that it's okay to be vulnerable, right? I'm used to being Superman for myself, right? Being there for me, not really wanting any help, is try to give as minimal help as possible. But I've learned to accept it's okay to be a little bit vulnerable. You just can't be desperate, right? I think when you talk about vulnerability, it's allowing others to come into this space to help you if they're willing and wanted to, right? That's a difference between that versus you just being desperate and desperately needing help and you wanting and feeling though like, damn, I need this person to able to get to X, Y, and Z or do X, Y, and Z. And that's when you come off desperate, because desperation, that can be taken advantage of, believe it or not. If someone sees you desperate, they consider you looking at you like you're weak. I think that's the difference between being desperate and being vulnerable. Vulnerable is allowing you to actually soften up a little bit, right? It's allowing you to accept when someone does want to be able to lend a hand and help you, even when you don't ask, versus you are just begging and being desperate. So it's being vulnerable. That's one thing. Another thing I can say that I was able to learn about myself, right? But I also had to understand there's a side of me that it's okay to express to as well. And that the more I get comfortable in that, is the more I start to open up and accept this is who I am. And that's being emotionally, right? Being emotionally available, displaying it, showing it to others, which is through love and compassion, not overthinking what it's going to look like when I present myself in that way. Not thinking about how other people is going to perceive me if I show myself in that way, right? Because a lot of times we are told as men in society that we are weak. We cannot really show emotions. If we do, is looked upon as being weak, right? And I know we're trying to change that model where we are allowing men to have space to express themselves and also show that vulnerability without worrying about what the next man thinks. And it's good to see a brotherhood that's coming on, that we're seeing society where we are being able to sit around each other and share those traumas and stories that we have experienced through our upbringing, right? And that we're not critiquing and judging each other for it, but we're able to accept and embrace each other with love, right? Hug onto your brother when he comes to you and he leaves on your shoulders to cry. You're able to accept and open your arms to him without making him feel like he's being weak, right? And also show my actions too. Like when I know that I want to get when I know I'm open back up in the market for the dating scene, I feel as though I can fully express myself of how I feel naturally, right? It's not just bringing flowers, it's whatever the case may be. If I want to buy me a teddy bear and give it to my shorty, that's fine. If I want to get some flowers and chocolate, give it to my shorty, that's fine. If I want to go into a spa and go to the nail salon and get my nails done with my shorty and get a manicure and a pedicure, that's fine too as well. I don't have to worry about what she's going to think about me actually liking these things. And the person who really, and a few ladies, if you out there, you really do that to your man, that is crazy. That is crazy. And a lot of times I know we want the tough exterior type of man, but a lot of times we can't beggars can't be choosers. We want a man to be masculine and tough, but also want him to show that soft and feminine side to you. But it's hard for a man to display that soft and feminine side to you when every time he does so, it gets shut down. Right, because if the testosterone level is always on 1,000, you know what I mean, it's going to be hard for him to switch that off if you never allow him the space to switch that off. And the minute he switched that off, you side-eyed him or you questioning him and his manhood. That's why you'll never get that feminine side of a man, right? He won't never be that soft person that you looking into. So I think it's important to allow a man to show that without making him feel like, damn, he's less of a man because he wants to display affection and love to you. So I think, ladies, you got to be definitely careful for that too as well. So that's another side of me that I can say that I'm able to carry on to myself next year when I do make those changes and go into the new year. Is those emotional patterns, right? Is expressing that and not feeling judged for it. Another one I would say is boundaries. It's important that I highlight that, right? Because a lot of times boundaries look different for everyone, right? What is boundaries to you? Please let me know. What do you feel as those your boundaries that you put, right? That you may want to carry over to 2026, that you learned about yourself in 2025. Is me accepting the fact that when I tell someone no, I don't hesitate. I don't feel guilty about it. I'm not damn if I let the person down, maybe I coulda, woulda, shoulda. No, I feel like if I give a hard no to something, I'm not going to feel bad about it, right? If it means that I'm putting myself first, right? My time, my energy, my effort, If it's not in my favor at all, I won't do it. If I feel as though I can't get nothing out of it, I won't do it. If I feel as though it's a burden towards me, I won't do it. I'm sorry, right? You got to be selfish with yourself. And that's one thing I know that I will do is be selfish with myself, right? Putting a certain level of expectation to as well. Knowing that this is the standard that I hold for myself, and I gotta keep that standard very, very high, right? I gotta uphold that standard. I know that for me to and able to have someone look at me in a certain way, I got to look at myself in that certain way first, right? I got to have self-respect for myself if I want someone else to respect me, right? And that's me upholding to that standard at all times, right? What is the standards for you, right? What is this? People maybe you won't accept and date that you would have date back maybe 10 years ago, right? Places that you used to go to, but you have no business being at this spot anymore, right? I know I used to love going to the corner bars around the hood, but I know damn well 10 years later, I should not be in this environment. This environment no longer serves me a purpose. It doesn't do me good. Every time I used to come to this spot, I have to look over my shoulder. Am I going to possibly make it out alive to this spot, right? But I would always take that risk, right? I'll always be willing to take that risk. I'll go to that corner store. I'll go to that beer distributor. I'll go to that Chinese store. I'll go to that bar, knowing damn well it's a danger every time I go around it. But when you're young and dumb, that's a danger you're willing to take sometimes. You feel as though, damn, it's not going to happen to me. I'm invincible. I don't got anything to do with it. I do anybody no wrong, right? But at the end of the day, me outgrowing myself is knowing that I shouldn't be going to these spaces if I know I got to really feel that way, right? I got to watch over my shoulder. Well, I got to worry about someone else too as well, right? Because even though I may not be the target, but me just being there accidentally, I can just get caught, right? Wrong person, wrong time. We all know about that. So it's me growing in many ways with myself, even in communication with people, right? Me knowing that I shouldn't be having this conversation with this person no longer because this person no longer honestly holds value in my life, right? Every time we do have a conversation is leading to a fight and an argument. There's always some type of disagreement, right? And it's a petty fight all the time. And it's like, oh, what value did this person hold to me in my life at this stage, right? You got to look at all of these things and analyze, like, what are my boundaries? What am I going to accept? What am I not going to accept going into 2026, right? And it goes to your families. It goes to your relationships with your partners, your colleagues, whatever. Even your colleagues too could piss you off at work, right? But you still sneaking around with them. You still sneaking having certain conversations. You talking behind each other's back, all that nonsense, all those things that's weighing you down constantly every single time you go into work. Like, what are you doing? You got to question, like, why are you involved in this gossip still, right? Maybe gossip when I was 23, that I shouldn't be having at 33, 34 years old. Come on, like, where are we growing? But we're still wondering, why can't we got that promotion, right? Why are we getting that new position that we want, that title at work, right? But believe it or not, people are watching. And when they see and observe these type of behaviors, they're going to be like, yo, this is not a person we can really put in this position and trust because they talk too much. They gossip too much. Every time we have where their name is brought up is in a negative light, is in a negative conversation. Those things matter too. So when I said you got to put a standard in yourself, you got to look at yourself in the mirror and say, who am I, right? What do I represent? What value when people look at Rodney Dagbert, what are they seeing, right? How do they view me? How do they look at me when I walk, when I talk, when I'm not in the room? What are they seeing behind my back? I'm not saying that you got to care what people think, but I think in certain places and environments, you should care what people think about you. Your name is all you have. Your name is your word. Your word is your bond, right? So I always feel as though it's important to carry yourself in a certain way. And for me, I think having set of rules, high standards. I'm not saying being bougie as hell. I'm not saying that, but I mean having those high standards and values of yourself and having that ultimate self-respect, right? Because if you have self-respect, then you can go a long way, right? But if you don't have that self-respect, you can't expect others to respect you too. If they realize you're not even respecting your own damn values, your own damn belief systems. So that's another thing that I'll say going into 2026 that I'll carry over. That I did take away in 2025 that was effective of what worked and what didn't work, right? I also think that it's important to, when you're talking about things that you learn in 2026, that I know that I've learned I learned in 2025 that I don't want to have carry over in 26, is my vision, right? My vision what am I losing sight? Am I losing sight of things, right? When I have this purpose and this vision, this plan that I put in place? Am I constantly being derailed from it, right? Am I being derailed from this vision and this plan? Every time I set something out in the beginning of the year, it may be effective for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, right? Or even a couple of months. But then eventually I'm realizing I'm fading off from that. And I'm over here working on someone else's plan. I'm helping someone else develop their vision and their plan, but now derail from my own, right? If you're a person who maybe have a business that you're trying to establish, maybe you wrote the entire thing on a poster, right? You put it in a storage closet somewhere and you said, hey, when this time frame comes, I'm going to pull it out. I'm going to work towards it. But one way or another, you get those old habits, right? I always say the devil come knocking on the door to come test those temptations, right? See if you really did change. Did you really work on those things that you said you was gonna work on, right? Well, let me test that out, right? Some of those old habits that you used to do start to circle your way, they circle their way back around, right? Those habits that you used to circle way back around, and now you're left wondering like, oh shit, this is happening all over again. I remember this habit, right? You start to have that deja vu moment coming all over your head because you realize this is something that you fixed, but now it's resurfacing again. Why is it resurfacing again? I thought I handled this situation. I thought I worked on this before. And now the test of time comes where we're going to see, okay, the devil's going to say, let's test that theory. Let's see did you overcome that? Did you really, really fix that issue that you say you were so confident saying that I worked on? You said you was a better person, right? You said that you let those demons behind. Well, now it's knocking back on your front door. Let's see how you test around this time around, right? So I think that it's important to know when you have that vision and that plan, that mindset, when you're in that mindset, that it's important that you find a way to stick to those values, those core values, and those things that you put in line for yourself so that you don't get derailed. Because I feel as though in order for that to happen, you got to be able to know what are those core values that I set for myself to say that no matter what happened, when this situation arises, I'm able to handle it because these are the 3 steps that I know I always take to overcome all the odds and all the stipulations that come with the temptation. So, I think that when you talk about having self-reflection of what happened in 2025, right, you got to think about these things so you don't let it carry it over in 2026. So I ask y'all in the chat to please let me know, like, what is it that you feel as though in 2025 that you're leaving behind that you know that you're not going to let carry over in 2026, right? I also believe in not repeating the same actions that I did in 2025 in 2026, right? I'm not just talking about going to the same places like we talked on earlier, but I mean with just our mindset as far as what we realized that we were constantly fighting mentally that always took us that step back, that always made us procrastinate, right? And in achieving a certain task, right? We always say we're going to start the year off right, with the business plan, with the gym. Right? We go sign up and go to the gym. We do all of that stuff. We hog all the locker rooms. We take the lockers up and we put them on the lockers. And next thing you know, we got to have the gym management come and take chains and freaking break those damn lockers because after 2 weeks, we realize this person ain't coming back anymore. Right? We say we're going to start a family. We're going to do our partner. We're going to do right to our partner. We're going to finally get married. We're going to propose to that partner, right? We're going to do all these positive things that we come in place. But yet there's those demons in our mind that constantly weigh us down over and over and over again that we didn't realize when we talking about the new year. We're like, holy shit, damn. I just realized the same things that I said I wouldn't allow happen 10 years ago, 5 years ago, last year is now repeating again. Now we're going over the same cycle. So I just know it comes down to literally those basic principles that you put for yourself, right? But you sometimes got to tweak it. You may have all the right plans in place. You may draw everything up perfectly the way you want to, but sometimes certain things need to be tweaked a little bit if you're realizing that these are the 1 or 2 common themes that's constantly happening every time I get to this step, right? Every time I get up the hill and I get to this section of the mountain, I realize I just fall down on the cliff because these 1 or 2 challenges, these obstacles that always seems to get in my way, I cannot overcome them and I don't know why. So you have to be willing to figure out the why. Why is it that when I get to the mountaintop, right, and I finally reach to that destination, and I hit that peak, and the next thing you know, I just completely fall down off the cliff. What is it mentally upstairs that's caused me to have that all the time? You got to know sometimes you got to tweak your mindset, man. Maybe it's a thought that you have in there that you stuck on that you can't seem to let go and let out. And if it means revamping, if it means restarting in any type of way, whether it's going to therapy to find that solution, because I know a lot of times we may think that therapy don't help, right? It doesn't hold value. It's not going to change who I am. You'd be surprised, or what that one step that you said that you would never try, you go on and try it and realize it done discovered a whole bunch of stuff and patterns about you that you never thought that exists in you. And now you realize you're finally able to then go and kickstart that dream, that goal, that desire that you had in place that you always wanted to, because you made that slight adjustment. So a lot of times, believe it or not, it's those things that's mentally in your head that you say that's not it, is more likely the times that is it that's causing you to literally stay stuck in the same place at all times, because you're nervous, you're afraid, you're scared, you're worried, you procrastinate. What that change might look like if I made that slight adjustment, right? So don't hesitate. If you realize 5 years ago that, damn, every time I get to this point, it's always this that's keeping me from getting to the next level, and I know that, but yet I'm not willing to do something about it because I'm so comfortable in this position. I don't want to lose that. But yet, how can you complain about getting to the next level and you're still stuck on being comfortable in that same position if you're not willing to at least attempt to try to fix that, right? But then you're questioning everything else. That means you got to make that adjustment. It's about time to make that change then at that point. It's about time for you to discover, okay, this one thing that I was always afraid to go leapfrog and try because I'm concerned about if I fall flat in my face, what's the outcome going to be like? You didn't have to be willing to go say, let me go try that, right? What can go wrong, right? I always say in life, you don't fail, you learn lessons. If I fall flat in my face, I'm going to get up and I'm going to go try it all over again. It may not be what I just attempted, right? Because I realized that I didn't succeed in that. But then maybe I'll be like, hey, I'll go try to do something else. But like I always say, the worst thing I ever want in my life is to know that I could have, would have, should have, and I did not try. I think that would eat me up more than anything than failing. Because I don't mind failing, because I think failures are just lessons in life that you learn from and you go on to do something different. But when you never try something at all, that will eat you at your core. It would eat you at your soul, because you're always going to be left wondering, damn, what if I tried? What if I attempted? What you could have, should have, done is gonna hurt you. I'm telling you, it's gonna haunt you. And that's why a lot of times when people get old and they're freaking 60, 70s, 80 years old in their chair and their rocker, sitting on that front porch and they crying and depressed about life, it's because 30, 40 years ago, they knew that one thing that they always pushed off to the side that they should have tried, they never did so. And now they're left wondering years later, what if I'd made that adjustment? What if I made that change? What if I pursue that goal? Would my life would have been different, right? And that doesn't necessarily mean you might achieve in that, but it's the thought though, that knowing that I should have tried, but I was afraid to. That is haunting, I'm telling you. So if you're talking about in 2026, what adjustment you should make, I think that's what you should look into and be like, you know what? It's about that time. It's about that time. And a lot of times we are afraid to try too, is because we're always left wondering what the next man's going to think, right? What the next person is going to think about you trying this. So you constantly, it's like every time you're somewhere, you're constantly looking at your shoulders left or right, wondering, right, what is about to happen in my environment? What is about to happen if I make this sudden move, right? Maybe you waiting in line and you know that you should jump out of this line, but you're so concerned about, if I jump out this line, what is that going to look like? What are people going to think, right? And I think that's the problem. You should never be concerned about what someone else is going to think, because believe it or not, the people that's around your environment right now for the next 5 to 10 minutes, you'll probably never see in your life again, believe it or not. And they probably are the same people that want to do the same thing you want to do, but they don't have the balls to do it, because why? They also are concerned about what you're going to do. They also concerned about what do you think if they jump out and go do the same thing. So believe it or not, 9 out of 10 times, everybody wants to go do the same thing. We're just afraid to go try it, right? Until that one person tried, then you realize everyone has the encouragement to go try that too as well. So 2026, make that change. Don't think twice, right? Don't be concerned about what the next man is thinking. you go out and you go do it, right? You jump out that line and you be surprised you see everybody else jump out that line too, right? Don't go be afraid to go start that business plan that you have, because then you'll be the one who'll be very upset when you realize, damn, someone else is out there doing the same thing that I had drew up a year ago. But why is it that I didn't succeed? Why you didn't succeed? Because they were willing to go attempt and try that, and you sat back and watched the whole time. That's another killer. So try to think about these things, right? When you think about what worked in 2025 and what didn't work, what can you carry over into the next year, right? What is it that you feel that you can take over to the next year, right? What was successful? What was detrimental, right? What are some of the positive things you can take over? What are some of the negative things you feel like you need to probably tweak and change or completely leave behind, right? What is it? I'm questioning you guys right now. What is it in 2025 that you feel so that you need to leave behind that you cannot let carry over in 2026, right? So these are some of the questions I'm asking. Please leave those thoughts and comments in the chat, guys. We'll talk next time. This month would be all about, for the rest of the month, 2025. What are we going to transition with in 2026? Guys, have a good rest of your evening. Please don't forget, once again, to share, like, and subscribe. Tap the notification bell to get notification on the channel content. Share with your family, your friends, everyone, guys. We are a community that we are trying to constantly grow. I know I don't talk about the most crazy blazing topics like the name should be, right? Maybe, I don't know. But I'll try to always find a message and something to give for y'all to literally carry over and think about your own daily lives. That I think is more valuable and important when you think about yourself individually versus the shit that we're seeing out there that's just nothing but negative, but is not serving us any true purpose and value of what we got going on inside personally. So that's what I'm going to leave that there. Hot Rods, Blazing Topics. Next time.